mostly we recommend to do sitting meditation or walking meditation or standing meditation. We don't recommend lying down meditation because it's too relaxed. You will become lazy. You may fall asleep. Sometimes when we are very tired, we can lie down. Okay, here when we say nidharamata, delight in sleeping, there can be many different types of enjoyment while sleeping. For example, you may have a very luxurious bed, very luxurious cushion or sofa or mattress, enjoying the touch of mattress or cushion or sofa. This is also nidharamata. Sometimes, although we have already woken up, but we keep lying down on the bed, keep our eyes closed, right? That means, although we wake up, we don't get up, right? This is also called enjoying. Enjoying tinamita, slow and double. So if we have this kind of enjoyment, this also for the declinations of concentration. The next one. Sanganika Ramata, delight in social gathering. When we say Sanganika, there can be many different types of gathering. As we have already mentioned, festival, family gathering, or any kind of gathering. The main thing is we don't want to live alone. We just wish to be in the community, in the gathering, or in the group. But when we are going to practice, we must try to live alone. We need bodily seclusion or bodily solitude. We also need mental solitude. If we can live alone and focusing on one object, we can improve. Even today, I have already talked to one yogi. When we are in big community, we have to fulfill more kanti parami. Right now here we have very big community, right? Very big group. We must fulfill more parami, more kanti parami. So that means big gathering can bring big problem. Although we live alone, sometimes we quarrel with ourselves also, right? How many times do you complain yourself? And sometimes we quarrel alone. Sometimes we quarrel with other people. Okay, briefly, if we like gathering or living in the community or living in big community, it will be for the declinations of concentration. Then we have the next one. Inariyesu akuta dwarata, lack of restraint in the sense faculty. That means not controlling sense faculties or not training sense faculties, not guarding sense faculties. Okay, when we say sense faculties, then we must remember 6 sense doors: eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, and mind. So these doors can be for the entrance of defilements. Sometimes we open our eyes unwisely, then many defilements enter into our thought process. So that means that defilement enter into iron doors. Then if we wisely open our eyes, the many wholesome mind will enter into our thought process. Similarly, ear, desirable sounds, undesirable sounds, we like it, we dislike it. Then both can be defilements. If we like greed, if we dislike hatred or anger, if we wisely open our ears, for example, now listening to the Dhamma Talk, this is the wholesome. Similarly, there are many other listening. Some of the listening will be wholesome, some of the listening will be unwholesome. So we must wisely listen in order that defilements may not enter into our ears. Defilement will not arise in our thought process. Similarly, nose. We like good smell, sweet smell. So all the desirable things or desirable objects can bring defilements. Similar undesirable objects also can bring defilements. The main thing is, if we follow our desire too much, then we cannot improve. Then you can also imagine the same, the tongue, the body, and the mind. So sometimes, although we have good eyes, if something is improper, we must live like a blind person. Although we have good ears, sometimes we have to live like a deaf person. We have good nose, we can smell everything easily, but sometimes we have to live like a sneezy one. Right? If your nose is blocked, you cannot smell anything. Okay, briefly, Indiyasu Akuda Dhoratami, if we don't guard our sin doors, it will be for the declinations of concentration. This also comes from awareness and mindfulness. Without mindfulness, without awareness, we cannot guard our sense doors. The next one, Bhojane Amata Nyuta, lack of moderation in eating. So sometimes we don't know suitable or unsuitable food. Sometimes when we are accepting also, we don't know the amount we can eat. We don't know suitable or unsuitable food. Especially for meditators, we must be very careful. Sometimes eating some special foods, we feel drowsy whole day. We cannot overcome it. We must remember that kind of food. Sometimes we are allergic to some types of food. Okay, practically I'm ginseng allergic. So if I take ginseng, I feel discomfort in my eyes. So I have to avoid. Similarly, you may have many other allergic. Then we have to avoid unsuitable food. Okay, in this, another name of Bhojana Amatanyuta, we also have to know suitable and unsuitable. This is the one thing. Another thing is the proper amount we can eat. As an ordained person, we have to rely on donation. That is why we must not waste people's donation. If we have a lot of extra food, it's also wasting. So when accepting and when eating, we must know the amount we can consume. This is also called moderating in food. Okay, now we may have the next one. Yeah, samsaka ramata, delight in association with worldly people. Okay, in the case of samsaka, actually we have many types of samsaka. As we have already mentioned, communication, speaking on phone or anything, this is also called samsaka. Okay, one more thing. I should say a few more things about samsaka. For example, dasana samsaka. That means when seeing, we can communicate. We can also associate. Sometimes we just want to see somebody. That's why we ask him or her to come to see us. It makes unnecessarily busy. Similarly, savana samsaka, hearing. We want to listen somebody's sound. We want to hear somebody speaking. For example, again, now here you may have family, right? You want to hear your mother's voice, your father's voice, or maybe your children's voice. Then we contact them in order to hear their voice. Savana samsaka. Not only that, we also transfer our property, exchange property. Also, it's not selling and buying, transferring property here and there. This is also called samsaka. So if we are busy with all these kind of things, that we cannot meditate well. It will be for the declinations of our concentration. Now we have another part, papancha ramata, delight in mental proliferation. Okay, here in the case of papancha, it can be many different meanings. Sometimes we postpone or we delay. Although we can finish within 1 hour, then we just postpone. Finally, it becomes 2 hours, 3 hours, we don't do anything. Then later when we are going to meditate, all the things come up. I have to do this, I have to do that. So that means before we are going to meditate, we have to settle all the things we have to do. It will be easier for improvement. So these are 8 causes of decline for meditators. If you have one of these 8, it will be a little bit slow. If we have 2 of them, slower, right? If we have all 8 types of, all 8 causes, we cannot improve anymore. So when you cannot improve, you have to check how many of these 8 disturb your practice. If you can find the solution, then you can improve. Okay, now we have to move the next one. 4 types of establishment in Dhamma. So when we are going to practice, we also have to know what kind of practitioner we are, what kind of practicing we are following. The first one, practicing Dhamma that leads to suffering in both the present and the future. So that means there are some practice we have to suffer in this very life, but we also have to suffer in the future. Then you may have known many ascetic practices at the time of the Buddha. Some of the practices are very terrible. For example, sleeping on the ground without any mattress or any mat or anything. Then you can also know some types of practice. They scatter the thorns on the ground. Okay, thorn is very far, right? Now in Himalaya we cannot see the thorns because this is the cold weather, cold area. Like Madhya Pradesh in India, we can see many trees like this. Okay, for your understanding, many small needle or small pens, right? Scattered on the ground. Sleep, how will you feel? This kind of practice. So when we are practicing also, we have to suffer. But that kind of suffering is not worthy. Although we practice whole life, then we cannot be reborn in the good destination. So if we are born in the lower realms, we have to suffer again. So this type of practice is called the practice that leads to suffering in this very life, in the future. Then we have the next one, practicing Dhamma that leads to suffering in the present, but happiness in the future. So here in this meditation retreat, today is the second day, right? You have to suffer a lot. Pain, thoughts, drowsy. Before starting experiencing, or before experiencing rapture, joy, and tranquility, you have to suffer a lot. This is suffering in the present. After experiencing rapture, joy, and tranquility. You can feel peaceful. You can feel happiness. So now all the meditators are doing the second one. Mostly, majority are doing this one, right? And on the next one. Practicing Dhamma that lead to happiness in the present, but suffering in the future. Mostly people like easier one. No? People like very easy one. If you don't need, that means in Myanmar also we have many traditions. If something is very difficult, they don't wish to follow, they don't wish to practice. So they just want to live easily, comfortably. They don't wish to encounter any difficulty. Okay, now I should reveal some common problem in the meditation. In many meditation retreats, there is one ending point of meditators, that is tranquility. So when we have very strong tranquility, we have very strong peacefulness, then another thing is we don't want to move our body, we don't want to open our eyes. It's very pleasant. People like this kind of experience. Then there are many people, they thought that they had attained certain level of vipassana. They also believe that they have attained past and future knowledge. This is the stopping point. This is the ending point of meditators. Then today also one yogi reported something about like a relaxing. For example, sometimes we have very strong concentration. Then we cannot maintain with enough effort. We don't have supporting effort or maintaining effort. Our mind becomes blur. We don't know any particular object. This is also very pleasant. Also, mind also fresh. When we stop meditating also, we feel fresh. People like this kind of experiences. Then they stop there. That means happiness in the present, peacefulness in the present, but no more improvement. This is the third one. You can experience soon. Or some of the meditators may have experienced this kind of condition. So, okay, if we approach this one again, in every single improvement, there is a difficulty. After overcoming difficulty, we can improve more. Okay, we should give one simile. When you are in the kindergarten, you have to learn something very easy and simple. But when you go to primary school, still easy. But gradually, your life becomes difficult in learning. This is learning. I have already mentioned comfort, pleasant. In every single improvement, there's a comfort, there's a pleasant. If we like pleasant feeling, comfortable feeling, then we cannot improve. We must keep doing, we must keep practicing without following any peacefulness, calmness or anything. Then it will be for our improvement. Okay, now the last one. Practicing Dhamma that leads to happiness in both the present and the future. Actually, this is the highest one in Buddha's teaching. When we can take jhana, we can live peacefully in this very life. We can also enter into jhana easily. Then it can be many hours, it can be a few hours also. It depends on our skill. Then if we can enter jhana in our near-death moment, we can be reborn in the Brahma world. That's also happiness. Then when we can take path knowledge and fruition knowledge, this is also happiness in this very life. We can enter into fruition attainment. Then we can also feel peacefulness, taking nirvana as an object. Then when we pass away, we cannot be reborn in the hell anymore. This also brings happiness in the future. So the last one is the attainment. Without attainment, we cannot get the last types of practice. So these are how we establish ourselves in the Dhamma. Then we have to check what kind of practice we are doing. Maybe 2, 3, or 4. Sometimes if we are unwise, we have to suffer. Number 1. In Nepal, we have one yogi. He was a bhikkhu. Now he left already. Then he had been to many other meditation centers, as you have already learned in many other centers also. You may know you have to focus all over the body, all the sensation in the body. That bhikkhu had experienced the same thing as you did now. The problem is tension, stiffness in the head. When he closes eyes, he feels tension. Previously, he focused on the tension. Then he feels tension stronger, more tension. Now when he came to power, I have to change object. Just keep knowing breathing normally. But he said, not that easy because of tension. Then one day, he also told me, I think I should face the tension first. Then I also asked him, how do you want to face the tension? Just focus on the tension. When he said like that, I said, no, don't do it. Then, since he is a learned bhikkhu, okay, according to Myanmar education system, he is also a Dhammacharya. Then he had to learn many of texts also. Then I asked him, have you ever read Tika Nikaya commentary? Especially the explanations of Mahasatipatthana Sutta. Then he said he had read some part. Then I also talk about Venerable Tissa. Venerable Mahantissa. You may have already known broken the legs, right? He break his legs. Then in the text it's mentioned, he just overcome the pain by focusing on main object. Okay, here one more thing. In the text it also mentioned he just do recollection of morality, then he can feel tranquility and bliss. By the power of tranquility, he could overcome the pain. This is the way we have to do. Then I also recommend him, when you have tranquility, you can overcome it. Then have you ever learned any things or any method to develop the tranquility? So now here the same. Pain, right? I don't recommend to focus. When you have tranquility, you can overcome it naturally. Okay, now we will move to the next topic. Listening to the Dhamma. This is also important. So we have already mentioned listening or conversation. So conversation can be an obstacle. The conversation can be for the declination. But what about listening to the Dhamma talk? It depends on how you listen. When you read Dhammavara stories, then you may have known many stories, many Dhamma listeners. After listening a short discourse, they could attain path and fruition knowledge. Why they have this kind of ability? Of course, we have to know their parami. We can also say this is their parami. But although they have parami, there are many people, they cannot attain path and fruition knowledge. Why does this happen? That's the way to listen to the Dhamma talk. One, listening without the intention to find faults in the speaker's virtues. So sometimes we just listen Dhamma talk to find faults of the Dhamma talker. Even I myself also do like this sometimes. Right? I don't know how many times you have done this kind of things. Right? So, okay, practically, sometimes when somebody is chanting Parita, then their tone and their punctuation is not correct, and so say, oh no, how he can chant like this? Right? We have this kind of mindset, right? Okay, the main thing is, if we find faults of Dhamma listener, we're going to get the benefit. Okay, one more thing here. Sometimes the Dhamma talker cannot explain clearly. That's why we just point out his mistake, his weakness. This will be exception. Right? So here in this Dhamma talk, I am allowed to ask question. If something unclear, you can ask. It doesn't mean you are finding faults. Because you cannot understand well, right? Okay, we have another part. Listening without intention to criticize the teacher. Sometimes we just criticize the teaching, the material. For example, now I collect many material to give Dhamma talk here. So this is also not that easy. I have to read many books also, right? Anyway, the main thing is, sometimes we just criticize the material. That kind of material is not really very good for listeners. not suitable for practice, there can be many different conditions of listeners. There are many different levels of listener also. Then, if we criticize the material or Dhamma material, then to give Dhamma talk, then we cannot get benefit. Then the next one. Listening without intention to attack or insult the Dhamma teacher. So sometimes we have intention to attack or insult. And this is also not really very good intention, right? So sometimes even in the question and answer I can find, I got a sense. And when they are going to attack something, when they are question, there's some hint. I can also send the hint. Okay, if we are going to attack the Dhamma talker, or going to insult the Dhamma talker, sure, this is also not beneficial for the listeners. Okay, now, the next one. Listening with wisdom, free from delusion and attentiveness. So sometimes we have a lot of delusion. We cannot understand the truth. Sometimes we don't have intention. We don't have full intention. The mind is wavering, quivering, going here and there. So if we pay attention fully, we can understand fully. Then we have the last one. Not assuming knowledge where there is a known. Okay, here in this case, I should elaborate a few more. Sometimes, although we haven't learned properly yet, we pretend that we have learned well. If we have this kind of pretending, nobody can help us. Okay, I should use my practical experience. I'm also English teacher in the monastery. There are some of the senior, when I give some lesson, they worry, I may look down upon them. That's why they pretend that they have already known, they have already learned. Then when I ask, they cannot answer. Right? Then when I explain, they say, oh yes, I understand. Again, if they pretend like this, we cannot help. Similarly now, in the Dhamma Talk also, there are many parts of Buddha teaching we cannot understand clearly. Now I'm also writing a book about Mangala Sutta. I was also re-editing. Anyway, even to elaborate one Pali word, I have to read many books. Not that easy to understand. So sometimes, right, we pretend we have already learned Vinaya, we have already learned Abhidhamma, we have already learned Sutta. Now we also believe that we have already understand everything clearly. We have already understood clearly. But if it's not truth, if we are not quite understanding, we must accept it. We must open to ask question. If somebody is a pretending, then there cannot be improvement. Okay, you may have already read many suttas. For example, Anatta Lakkhana Sutta. The second discourse to 5 bhikkhus. There the Buddha asks, Rupan Nijjāwa Anijjāwa. Right? Rupan Bhikkhu Nijjāwa Anijjāwa. The Buddha asks, does Rupa is permanent or is materiality permanent or impermanent? The Bhikkhu answer, impermanent Venerable Sir. They know it. They understand it. That's why they answer. It's not theory. They have already experienced in their own inside knowledge. Then there are many Dhamma talks. The Buddha asks many questions to the bhikkhus. Bhikkhus also answer. Sometimes, if they cannot answer, then they also request the Buddha. May the Buddha answer the question. They are open. Okay, we can also say honesty, sincerity. If we have all these types of ability, or all this kind of quality when listening to the Dhamma, it will be more beneficial. So at the time of the Buddha, many bhikkhus, many devotees could attain path and fruition knowledge easily after listening to discourses. It also because of their past karma, their parami. It also how they listen to the Dhamma. Another thing is the Dhamma talker, the Buddha himself, know how to give Dhamma talk. What kind of material, what kind of words or term he should use. Then they could understand clearly, they could attain path and fruition knowledge. These are how we have to listen to the Dhamma talk. Not only that, when you read Sutta also, it should be the same. Right now, modern society, we have many audio books. For Vietnamese, you have more audio books in Dhamma, right? We also have many audio books in Myanmar. Whether we are listening to audio books or when we are reading, we must apply the same 5 to get benefit by learning or by listening. Sometimes we just find focus of the sutta, right? In this sutta, okay, now I have read many articles written by many scholars. Then in the year 2010, I have read one article. One of the scholars talked about Mahasatipatthana Sutta. Mahasatipatthana Suttas are not that much useful. There are many parts we cannot practice practically. Then I prefer Ditthitatthamatam. Right? Seeing as a seeing, right? So he had that kind of approach. Actually, if we know how to read the sutta, it will be more beneficial. Okay, one more thing for your information. Whenever we read sutta, we must remember who is the listener. Mostly the Buddha delivered discourses according to listener's condition, listener's tendency, and maturity of controlling faculties. That is why sometimes the same meaning, different Pali words. Sometimes it's the same ultimate sense, but different usage. For example, asava, full asava, taint or mental intoxicant. Then full yoga, yoke or bond. The full orga, flat. Although they have different usage, but the same ultimate reality. Greed, wrong view, and ignorance. According to listener's condition, the Buddha used different terms, different words. Okay, so this is how we have to learn the sutta. Okay, how we have to read the sutta. If something is unclear, we can ask somebody who can read Pali well. Okay, today, if I move the next one, this is also possible, but it will be a little bit heavy for today. I will stop here, right? And may you all be able to practice the 3 trainings, and may you all be able to realize final cessation and no suffering. Oh, no question. Okay, maybe later when you have very heavy Dhamma talk, maybe you may have question, right? No, not very heavy yet.
Dạ, hồi lúc nãy thầy có đề cập tới muốn vượt qua cái đau thì không thể nào quan sát vào cái đau đó được hay cái khổ đó được, mà phải có kinh an. Thì con thưa thầy là thầy có thể chỉ cho chúng con một vài cách để phát sanh được kinh an được không ạ?
Sayadaw, just now Sayadaw said, in order to overcome the painful feeling, we cannot focus on the painful itself, but we have to have the tranquility feeling in order to overcome painful feeling. So, could Sayadaw please teach us how to get more tranquility? The ways, there are many ways, so Sayadaw can please teach us.
Actually, when you have concentration, then you can have rapture, tranquility naturally. This is the easier way, right? Then there will be another condition. If you have experienced tranquility in the past, you can also recall. Then it will be okay. This is one thing, right? Then there are many different ways to develop the tranquility. Actually, I have already talked about it in Bojjhanga Sutta. I think this one's in the YouTube now for Vietnamese, with the Vietnamese translation. Okay, you can go on and study that one, right? So actually, there are many ways to develop the ultimate factor of tranquility. It's enough for one Dhamma talk, not a few minutes, right? Okay.
Vandami Sayadaw. Sayadaw, can you hear me?
I can hear you, sure.
Yeah, Sayadaw, there is a question here. How can he know or aware that he has already stuck in the comfortable sensation during meditation? And he used to heard that to have this comfortable sensation will make his concentration better.
Okay, so that means in this case, when your mind always inclined to tranquility, rapture, joy, you spend your time with this kind of pleasant feeling, then you're stuck there. You cannot improve anymore. Although you have tranquility, rapture, joy, or any kind of comfortable feeling, you keep focusing on main object. For example, if you are practicing anapanasati, keep focusing on the breathing. If you are practicing four element, keep focusing on the element. If you are practicing kasina, keep focusing on the kasina. In this way, we can understand, you can improve. If you follow only comfortable feeling, pleasant feeling, rapture, joy, tranquility, bliss, then we will stop there. Cannot improve anymore.
Bhante, could you please explain more things about how to overcome the samsagara mata?
Samsaga.
Yes.
Actually, samsaga ramada very easy, right? Don't use social media. Don't use telephone. Right? Okay, don't touch to anybody.
But Bhante, nowadays it's very necessary to connect.
Connect. Actually, okay, it depends, okay? For example, if you don't contact few days, it doesn't matter. Right? When you are meditating, for a few days, maybe don't contact. For example, like once a week, okay, maybe 10 days, or maybe once in 10 days also possible. Right? So you can reduce the communication. Right? Oh, no more question again.
Vandami Sayadaw.
Okay.
Vandami Sayadaw.
Okay.
There is a question in Papancha Ramata. Isn't that this Papancha also refer to Dithi, Mana, and Tanha?
Sure.
针对
If
这
we
个
say, okay, if we say the Dhamma, okay, Papancha Dhamma, it can be Lobha, Dithi, Mana. We can say three, right? With Tanha, Mana, Dithi, we can say these are called Papancha Dhamma. But here in the case of Papancha, it doesn't mean Tanha, Mana, or Dithi. It just means prolonging. We delay or we postpone. Okay, yeah? Okay?
Do you consider yoga practice to be obstructed meditation progress?
Yoga practice, huh?
Like obstruction for meditation?
Okay, just for health is okay, no problem. Right? For your physical health, you can do yoga. In this case, we cannot say obstruction. If you spend very long time, it will be obstruction, right?
How about, for example, like one time on Sayadaw topic, even if you want to learn, let's say, Pali or Myanmar language, that will obstruct your practice. Do you agree on that?
What do you mean?
Like if somebody wants to get time to learn, let's say, some Pali or something, that also, do you think it might obstruct our practice?
Okay.
Should we have only single-minded
Okay, sure. In the case of Pali Bodha, impediment, any kind of learning can be impediment, not only Pali learning. Right? This is impediment. Because we have to maintain our knowledge, we have to memorize. Right? When you are meditating, all the things will pop up. This can be an obstacle.
So for those people who are so inclined, let's say, to learn Pali, do you recommend separating from the meditation? Like when you are learning, just learn. When you are meditating, just meditate.
Sure. Sure, it should be like this. Sure. Okay. Not many questions. Then we can share merit now, right? Etavadaja amehi Sambadam bunya sambadam Sabbe deva numodandu Sabbe buddha numodandu Sabbe satta numodandu Sabba sambati siriya Idame nyadinam hodu Sukhita hondu nyadayo Idame nyadinam hodu Sukhita hondu nyadayo Idame nyadinam hodu Sukhita hondu nyadayo Idame bunyam Asawakaya Waham hodu Idame bunyam Nibbanasa Bhajayo hodu Mama bunya bhagam Sabba sadanam Bhajami De sabbe Me samam Bunya bhagam Lavantu Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.